Hey everyone, my name is Lamar. I am the host of the Healthcare Digital Marketing Podcast. I'm excited about this individual, Clint Harris. He has a lot of experience in the like. So what I've learned about you, Clint, is 16 years of medical sales experience where you have a lot of great relationships with healthcare professionals. But I think also you're an entrepreneur. You have your own podcast as well, and so we'll love to learn about your experiences. And I think too also, I think what a lot of people want to learn is the passive income side of things, right? And I think
Sure.
for you, you raised over 150 million in commercial assets. So I think a lot of wealth of experience and knowledge. So I'm excited to have you on. Can you open up and just talk to us about your background experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, connect with your crowd. And I think this will probably be a little bit different than a lot of the interviews that you do. And I'm going to do the best I can to provide value any way that I can. So hopefully it comes across as helpful. My name is Clint Harris. I'm 42, married for 13, coming on 14 years. I got two little boys, 5 and 2 years old. My wife and I live in Carolina Beach, North Carolina. I had a 16-year career implanting pacemakers and defibrillators, working in medical sales.
Wow.
That is, it's kind of a young man's game. Cardiology is not Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, as a lot of your
Yeah.
listeners know. So it came with a lot of nights and weekends on call, Saturday mornings in the hospital, checking the patients we did surgery on Fridays. And it was more of a lifestyle than a career. And I loved it. But I always knew that it was a young man's game. And if I ever wanted an off ramp from that lifestyle, I needed to create that on my own. I think it's getting harder, even for physicians and white coat professionals. It's getting harder and harder to save our way to retirement. A lot of times it's harder to pack away dollars faster than inflation and bad fiscal policy is taking the value of those dollars away.
Oh, yeah.
Everything else is becoming more expensive. So just playing defense is a hard way to get ahead. So for 14 of those 16 years, my girlfriend and fiance and now wife of a long time, or we invested into real estate as well. We did single family homes, we did flips. Most of it we did the wrong way, but we learned some great lessons along the way. In 2017, my wife and I, after 11 years in Columbia, South Carolina, we moved to Wilmington, North Carolina. I took over the medical sales territory here. And that was the first time we lived in an area near the beach that was good for short-term rentals, like vacation rentals, Airbnb type stuff.
Yeah.
So we bought a duplex at the beach, Carolina Beach, a small island where we live. We lived in one half, which is a 3 bed, 2 bath. We started renting the other half on Airbnb, and it more than paid for the whole property. We were like, man, this is great. We should keep doing this. And so we bought a quadplex with long-term tenants in place that were not taking care of the property.
Mm.
And we slowly moved those tenants out and we converted it to 4 Airbnb units, which drastically increased the value of the property and the cash flow. So then we did another quadplex, then we did another quadplex, and then we built a house and moved out of our duplex and rented it out. And then that led into a problem. The problem was I had been so focused on cash flow and financial independence
Yeah.
that when we got there and I replaced the income that I was still making at the hospital implanting devices, but we did it the wrong way. I was
Mm.
just focused on financial independence. And when we got there, I still had to have my phone on me, even when I wasn't on call at the hospital. I still had to be in one location in our community for the bulk of the busy season. And I realized that what we're really all looking for is time, financial, and location independence together. Those things
Yeah.
together can create an independence of purpose. And that's where life becomes a lot more fun in that place, right? Now you're going where you want, when you want, do you want, you decide the purpose that you want for your life. Hopefully, you're choosing something that's creating positive impact for your kids or your family or the community around you, but it's going to look different for everybody.
Absolutely.
So that was kind of the light bulb moment for us that had us go back to the drawing board and find something that was a better strategy towards the real freedom of purpose that we wanted. And
Right.
that was what led me to self storage, which is what our current strategy is. I still have 10 Airbnb units, and we started a property management company that currently manages my 10 units and another 75. And I took me 2 years to build that out. But now we're probably 6, 7 years into partnership on that company, and I'm completely hands off. It
That's awesome.
manages my properties and the rest of the properties, and I just get a check, but it took a long time to build it up. And through that process, I got really burned out on tenants. So when I
Mm,
was looking at an asset class that was going to be able to grow with us, age with us, move through different stages of life with us, that led me to storage. And self storage is you're renting someone a box of air. There's no bathrooms, there's
yeah.
no kitchens, there's no one living in the property. Um, and then through networking, I connected with my local partners who had been doing self storage since 2006. So I kind of rode their coattails a lot. I think the value of strategic partnerships and relationships is wildly important. And in 2020, we bought an old Kmart building and we
Okay.
converted that into climate controlled storage. So
Mm,
if we wanted to build that cinder block shell, we would have had to buy the land and it would have cost us about $6 million to build that cinder block shell on top of that land.
okay.
Instead, we bought the land, the parking lot, and the building for 1.5 million because
Wow.
there's very little appetite for a
Yep.
90,000 square foot Kmart building.
Yep.
And that one went very well. I'm gonna land the plane here momentarily so we can talk, but
This is, man, you're killing it.
thanks. So that one went very well. We did another Kmart after that, and then another, then another, then another. Um, I left my job of medical sales in November of 2022. I've been full time as a general partner with Nomad Capital ever since. We're sitting at 150 million in assets under management right now. I raise the capital. Most of the capital that we raise for our projects comes from the physicians that I used to work with. So
Mm,
cardiologist, electrophysiologist, pulmonologist, colorectal surgeons, eye doctors, and ER docs that they're my buddies. Like those are my people for 16 years. So
that's
um,
awesome.
that was kind of where we started. And then since then, it's grown into Meta ads, Facebook, Instagram. Obviously, we cast a wider footprint, but that second Kmart that we bought right after the first one, we bought that one for 2.5 37 months ago. And then we just sold that one 3 weeks ago for 9.53 million.
Man,
So
that's
that one's gone well. And then we've got about a dozen more projects that are somewhere in the life cycle from buying it, converting it into storage, leasing up, or either doing a cash out refinance or sale at the end.
man. I think we don't need to even have an interview at this point. You've already
I told you
answered.
I talk too much, man. I'm sorry.
That's so good. You answered a lot of my questions in just that, the introduction. Wow. Man, so like I guess when you think about like trading time for money, I think you've already given the answer. But if you would talk to like a healthcare professional, right? Where would you direct them first and say, hey, here's the best way if you're starting small or starting somewhere that you can avoid trading time for money or set yourself up to not do that as much?
Sure. Well, if you're building a house, you're starting with a blueprint. And if you're going on a road trip, you're starting with a map, right? So the
Mm,
number one question is, what are you trying to build? Where are you trying to go? Right. The
yeah,
the number one question that I'm going to have for anybody is like everybody's roadmap is going to look different.
right.
The most important thing, keep in mind, my job is to educate on self-storage and on syndication and on our offerings. Most people think that my job is to sell what we're doing and to raise money for it. That's not my job. My job is to educate for you to know what the goals are that you have for your family and hopefully do that in conjunction with your spouse, partner, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
to create the goals of what you want for your life. After you have those goals, I will educate you on everything that we do. It's not up for me to decide if it's right for you. It's up for you to decide if that fits in with the strategic vision of what you're trying to accomplish for your life. I
Mm,
would encourage everyone to remember that if you're just focusing on financial independence, personal opinion is that that's a shallow goal. And what
okay.
you should be focusing on is, especially if you're a healthcare professional, you've gone through a tremendous amount of school, tremendous amount of time in your life where you were spending money and not making money. And then there's a huge shift, and all of a sudden you're making money. And there's this lifestyle creep that comes in, and a lot of people end up with those golden handcuffs. You could have saved your way to retirement, but then you make lifestyle choices and that lifestyle creep comes in and it
Mhm.
gets really hard to save your way there. And so I think that physicians, especially, need to know about syndication and this type of passing investment, not because it's a silver bullet and it's right for everybody.
Right.
It's a tool. I think it is a tool that you should have in your tool belt to see if it's something that's going to help you accomplish the goals for your family. And the reason I think it's so important for physicians is because your time is expensive.
Yeah.
As a physician, your time is worth a lot. So you're telling me you're going to go flip a house and you're going to get in there and you're going to fix it. And every time you're in there doing something yourself, you're replacing a toilet that you could
Yep.
hire someone to do that for less than 50 bucks an hour. Your time is worth $200 to $300 an hour and you're in there doing that. That's a waste of your time. You
Yeah.
should be keeping the main thing, the main thing. You've got to you should just keep the main thing and focus on that, and you have capital that can get up and get out of bed and go to work when you don't want to. Let that
Mhm.
money go to work for you. And
Yeah.
the way that it works is, you spend so much time and effort as a healer taking care of other people.
Yep.
It really doesn't make a lot of sense for you to take your time to go invest it into another investment strategy to somehow break you away from that. And here's
Right.
why. To have success in any level of real estate investing, it requires three things. This is true
Okay.
for 5,000 years. It's time, it's experience, and it's money. Now,
Mm.
you don't have to have all three of those things, but
Okay.
together you have to have a combination of those things. The thing is this: physicians, healthcare professionals typically have money, but you don't have much time. And
Yeah.
without time, you can't get experience. And it's not worth it for you to take your time to go get experience because your time is worth too much. You're
Yeah.
trying to apply it to a job that is beneath your station in reality, but you
Mm.
still have to have those three things. So here's the key: every time you drive by a hotel, an RV park, a retail strip mall, a car wash, an RV park, a mobile home park, or a self storage facility, very rarely, and most people are passing at least a handful of these on their way to the hospital every morning.
Oh yeah.
Very rarely are these owned by a single individual. It is
Mhm.
almost always a pool of people that have pooled their capital together to take on projects larger than what any one individual could do on their own. That group is called a syndication.
Okay.
And the syndication has a general partner or an operator whose job it is to identify the offering, build the structure out in a way that they have a business plan that they can execute. And if the business plan is executed appropriately, everyone's going to share in the profits together. And then you
Okay.
have limited partners. The limited partners are the ones that are putting in their capital. The general partner is putting in his time and experience, using their capital along with his own to execute the business plan. When that business plan is successful, everyone benefits from that together. So
Got it.
I'll be the first to tell you or anybody else, you want to go flip houses, you want to go be an active investor, you can probably make 30-35% on your money. You can get a better return than I can pay you. But you're
Mm.
going to be an active investor and you're trading your time for money. And I don't care if you're a physician, a surgeon, an eye doctor, cardiologist, or you're a house flipper, or you're a wholesaler, we buy ugly houses, or you're a real estate agent.
Yeah.
All of those have one similarity in that you are trading time for money and it's transactional. And what I mean by that is I don't care if you're a surgeon that's making, $1.5 million a year in the 80s as a CT surgeon or something like that. The day you stop working is the day that you stop getting paid
Mhm.
when you're trading time for money. So the key is you got to trade away a lot of time in your life to make enough money that you can sock it away and maybe one day have saved enough that you can enjoy it with your family.
Right.
That sounds horrible to me.
Yeah.
Versus remembering that the money that you're making is a representation of your store of life energy. Every dollar is representing time that you spent away from the people that you care about, likely trading that time for something you didn't want to do to make that money.
Yeah.
So if you look at that as a store of life energy, if you take that energy and you invest it into something that is not, it's creating value that's not tied to your time.
Yep.
This is the first step in breaking the cycle of trading time for money. And eventually you get to the point of where, you're every time you invest into a passive investment strategy, in my opinion, you're effectively buying future days off. And when you buy enough of those days off, they start buying more and more days off. And eventually, your money is getting up every morning and going to work. And when you decide that you don't want to anymore, that capital is out there creating the cash flow for you so that
Yeah.
you can get back your time with that freedom of purpose that we talked about.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. That's so powerful, and I think too, well, I guess to piggyback up, like how do they? So if you're a physician or if you work full time,
Mhm.
how do you how do you eventually take that step, right? Like because you're already
Yeah.
working crazy hours. Like how
Yeah.
do you? Because eventually you're going to burn out. That's going to be eventually you're just going to get tired of working this full time job. So like, how do you take that first step to leverage passive income, like what you're talking about?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and physician burnout is more real right now than it ever has been. Like,
Mm,
man, the things that healers are put through, especially as they're forced to practice defensive medicine in a system that is so administratively heavy and so
yeah,
less about patient care, it just weighs on you, and that's not what a lot of these people got into the industry to do. They
right.
got in to take care of people, and instead they're fighting a system and trying to find a workaround to make it work for to heal their patients, and that's not what this was all supposed to be about. I think the first place, in my opinion, starting is to create a goal of what you would like for your life to look like with your family and your spouse. Once you have an idea of what that looks like, the temptation is you're going to talk to me and you're going to be like, well, that offering sounds good. Self storage sounds great. Let's invest in that. And
Yeah.
that's the wrong way to do it. You
Mm,
should not look at my offering and be like, that sounds great. Let's put money into that. What you should be doing, in my opinion, is these are the goals that we have for our family.
yeah.
These are the things we want to do in our future. These are the things that we want to invest our time and effort in that we think are significantly more important than just something as silly as money. And to create that level of freedom, we want to accomplish these goals. And our goal, that means for us, our goal is cash flow, or we don't need the cash flow right now because I'm going to work another 5 to 7 to 10 years. So the goal for us is growth. Or
Mm,
we're making so much money right now that we could cut the time frame on this a lot if I could save another one to $200,000 a year by focusing on investing for accelerated depreciation and tax benefits.
yeah.
There's a lot of different strategies that you can implement, and there's not a right or a wrong. It just depends on what your goals are. So the
Got it.
number one thing I think is establishing that goal. Once you establish the goal, you're not going to like this answer, but I think it's education. A lot of times, if I'm asking you questions about what you're trying to answer, and the answer that you have is I don't know, that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't know implies ambiguity. Ambiguity is just a lack of knowledge. And
Yep.
right now, knowledge is free and more available than it ever has been in the world.
Mm,
And I'll give you hopefully a 30-second soapbox here. I was, I think, a junior in college when Facebook came out. I remember my first Nokia brick phone when I was in high school. I remember my first smartphone. I didn't want to get rid of my BlackBerry Curve. And I've watched the world learn to connect in a meaningful way that no human has ever had access to, right? Just right now in our lifespan, 10 years ago, you and I would not be connected talking right now. And we're able to connect in a very meaningful way.
yep.
I think along with that, the increased ability to connect is amazing. Unfortunately, it's a double-edged sword because there's so much noise out there that
Oh yeah.
it's hard to cut through that. And I think it makes human connection more important, personal connection, handshakes and time together and lunch and things like that. I believe in the power of personal connection. I'm a huge extrovert and I believe in networking locally And I think that who you are right now is who you're going to be 10 years from now, with the exception of the places you go, the people you meet, and the content that you consume. Um, so there's that from an educational standpoint, but also I don't think enough people focus on, you ever heard of the law of 100 hours?
Oh yeah.
So this is something that I don't think enough people focus on, but the concept is that if you spend 100 hours studying something or learning about something, you're going to know more than 95% of the population of the entire planet
Yeah.
on that subject. Well, 100 hours is only 18 minutes a day for a year. And 18
Mm.
minutes a day is less than the average person's commute. So let's
Yeah.
just like, what are you doing with your windshield time?
Oh
Right.
yeah.
So just if you just take that time right there and you dedicate that to the relentless pursuit of a goal that you think is going to change the amount of time in your life that you're trading away for something as simple as money, and you can replace that little bit of time in the car, which you're spending anyway, to
Yep.
invest in yourself and the law of 100 hours, I think that that is very well going to push you in the direction of where you need to be to identify your goal.
Hmm.
Once you have your goal, then it's time to look for operators that you know, like, and trust, and identify deals that fit with your goals. And here's something that people don't know: syndication and the idea of investing passively into real estate has been around for thousands of years, actually. But like in our society, it's still been around since, for 250 years, our country's been around starting next year. And like, it's been around that long for sure. But it wasn't until 2012 with the Jobs Act that it really became available to the common man,
Okay.
in terms of the SEC put out guidelines that allow the average person to pool capital together with operators to take on projects larger than themselves.
Yeah.
So traditionally, we all just think we can only invest in the stock market and paper assets. It's not true. You can invest in anything you want: vineyards, ATMs, car washes, like wild stuff, pet washing stations. You can pretty much invest in anything you want if you find the right operator. And that wasn't the case until 2012. So
Yeah.
it's a very new, uh, not quite mainstream investment strategy. And you look anything like alternative investments is kind of what this area is called.
Okay.
It can be daunting because there's so much.
Right.
And that's why I think it's important to start with your goals so that you clearly identify what you are trying to accomplish, and then look for operators that you know, like, and trust, that are honest, ethical, transparent people.
Yeah.
And then you're looking for the offerings that fit with the goals that you're trying to accomplish for your life. And I think most people get that completely backwards. Hey, this
Mm.
deal looks amazing. Then let's look at the deal first. That sounds incredible. Then let's meet the operator. And then, yeah, let's invest in it. And however that's paying out, I guess this is our strategy now. It's like,
Yeah.
nah, man, you gotta reverse that if you're trying to design something that's gonna affect, like, if you if you focus your life on like getting toys or making money, that's great.
Yep.
But we know that the more money you give to your kids, traditionally, they're going to be less giving people. And I
Mm.
believe that if I give my children money, 3 generations from now, the money is likely gone and they are likely bad people. If I
Wow.
structure this in such a way that I am investing to get my time back,
Yeah.
it changes the amount of time that I get to spend with my kids and with my future grandkids, and I think gives them a different perspective on what a father and child relationship should look like, and
Yep.
it probably affects the amount of time that they spend with their kids and grandkids. And 5 generations from now, especially if I tie that together with a family foundation that has a purpose bigger than just us, that can create character and empathy in the world while managing wealth, 5,
Yep.
7 generations from now, I think there's a better chance that they're happier people, that they're more successful, and that they've had a bigger impact on their families and on the communities around them than if we just leave them money, just by
Right.
making that shift and focusing on time.
Yeah, man. Wow. Yeah, because I think like when you think of investments, right, people see dollar signs and they think about the money, but what you're saying is the goals, understanding, your goals, and then also just the relationships that you build from, operator standpoint, and then educating yourself on that vision and what's behind the scenes of investments. I think, yeah, that's so powerful because I think a lot of times when I even think about it or when I talk to, other entrepreneurs, it's the money. It's all
Mhm.
about the cash flow, the money. And that's important, but I think from what I'm hearing, based on what you're saying, there's so many other factors to getting to whatever that goal is, but you have to understand that vision first and then, go backwards from there. That's kind of what I'm hearing from what you're saying. And
Yeah.
I think with this being you're hitting the nail on so many, hitting so many nails, like when it comes to like passive income and this being, about this podcast being about marketing, right? What do you see like from a marketing standpoint, like because there's challenges and you mentioned earlier about running ads and stuff like that, so marketing is challenging across so many industries, but do you see any parallels when it comes to marketing, investments and storage to real estate, that how doctors should be thinking about that in terms of marketing themselves?
Yeah, I think marketing is probably more important now than it ever has been because the exposure, your ability to for market penetration is so much bigger than it ever has been. Like the first time we raised capital, I made 15 phone calls, 12 people said yes, and we had the money. Well,
Wow.
after you go through, you got $100 million in assets and you've raised $25 million or something from those investors. Like you have to get outside of those people, and that trust only transfers once, right? If you tell me, "Hey, I've got a college buddy, he's going to love this. You guys need to connect." And then you text him. He's like, "Yeah, man, I'm happy to talk to Clint." But after he texts somebody and they text somebody, like it doesn't transfer the same, right? That the value of that goes down. So how do you overcome that? The same way that physicians are going to get new patients is it's all marketing, right? And I think that a lot of marketing comes with so much hype these days that a lot of it feels cheap and transactional. So I try to approach things. I like approaching things from a standpoint of education and just trying to provide value. And it's like I'm not trying to sell you on me or anything else. I'm trying to educate. If it helps you, that's great. If you think that what we're doing is a good fit, that's awesome. If not, I'll try to point you in the direction of somebody else who may be a good fit. And because I don't think enough people are able to trust the marketing that they see because
Mm,
there's so much of it that's transactional and fake. So
yep.
I think the importance is um, everything's a value proposition. Like the person looking at your marketing, their question is, well, what am I getting? Whether it's better patient satisfaction scores, you know, somebody's live is answering the phone when I'm calling in, my speed to get in, or how fast the triage is happening in a local ER, or whatever it may be. Everybody's just out looking for themselves these days. What's in it for me? I
Yeah.
say, I think clearly identifying that value proposition is important,
Yep.
but outside of that, remembering that I think personal relationships are becoming more valuable because
Hmm.
everybody has less of them. People
Mm,
used to go to each other's houses and connect and have dinner parties, and we're just not doing that as much. Like the malls are closing down, like all the things, right? We have this big societal shift that you're going to have anytime we have some major technological shift. I would suspect that's probably only going to get more prevalent in the future. So I think if you can market from a standpoint of education and engaging in your local community and reminding everybody there that, hey, at the end of the day, we're neighbors. I'm going to see you at the grocery store. Let's connect on a level that's more important than just something transactional. I think that sincerity is something that is tragically lacking.
yeah, no, that's so powerful because it's, I think a lot of people are behind the screens right now, right, where they're looking for a dentist or orthodontist or whatever on their mobile phones, but they're going to pick the one that they can resonate with, and then not just resonate with the content and the messaging and how they connect with their pain points online, but then when they call, how does Susie behave when she answers the phone, right? Like it's that connection that they got to feel because they can call, if you search a dentist or any other type of physician, they can call 100 of them and
Yep.
try to figure out which one's the right fit. But they're going to connect with the ones that have that personal connection with how they communicate with them, online and over, over the phone. And I think too, like, I think what's amazing about your story too is, I mean, you've raised so much money in commercial, assets, but like, I guess explain to us, like, how do you earn the trust of these investors, right? Like you mentioned physicians, working with physicians because you had, so many years in the medical space. But how do you build that trust? And I think that personal connection is very important. But I guess dig a little deeper in that concept and how you do that.
Yeah, so starting out in the medical sales career, it's hard. Like I was young, I was in my early 20s when I started, and so like you have to make your mistakes. And luckily, I had an incredible team that was training me and kind of building me up. But through that career, you're dealing with patients that are trying to die, right? And you're working really hard to keep these people alive, and some of these procedures are really difficult. And I'm just I'm just there pushing buttons and bringing the product in, like the surgeon's doing the heavy lifting or the cardiologist, whoever, but they have to have trust in the people in the room. And sometimes it's trial by fire. So through that, you build some relationships and friendships that are really lasting. And it's really important. After you get out of that, like, so that was a pretty natural shift for me to call somebody and be like, hey, we worked together for all these years on all these cases. And I had to be honest with you sometimes in the face of giving you really hard information that didn't look good for me or for the product, but it was the information that you needed to have to take best care of the patient. If
Yep.
I'm willing to do the right thing, even when times are really hard and difficult, I think it builds trust there. And then when I call them later, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm doing this thing now. It's going really well. I've done a handful of them. I really think you should look at this. That's a conversation we haven't had before. But
Mm.
because we built that trust in place, it transfers, right? And we're doing the best for them. And for then, and then it's track record, right? How good are we? Are we operating? Are we executing the business plan?
Yep.
Outside of that, you can ask for those referrals and that trust transfers. Once you get outside of that, I'm going to drop a little gold nugget here that I think is something that people really need to know about marketing. But after that, it becomes exposure of how do you get people into the top of a funnel. Throughout
Mm.
that funnel, how am I providing value as best I can to educate people and
Yeah.
come from a place of sincerity? And eventually, if we get to the point where hopefully they know, like, and trust our group and understand that I'm a small part of a big team. And if that team aligns with their vision, and if
Yep.
the operations that we have align with their goals, maybe it's a good fit. But the big key is I need to be willing to tell them no
Mm.
if it doesn't fit. If your goals that you have for your family don't align with the cash flow I have coming out of a property, I need to be the first one to tell you that. And like, look,
Mhm.
I can send you someplace else. But the reality is, 3 years from now, if you're frustrated with how this is going, I'm still the one that's got to take that phone call. I
Yep.
would let's just get it right up front. Life is going to happen. Things are going to change. There's still going to be challenges to navigate.
Yep.
Let's at least start off with we both think that this is a good fit, and then let's navigate the challenges together. Here's
Right.
what I would say. I used to think for educating myself, the smartest thing I could do was listen to podcasts, and I don't believe that anymore.
Mm.
If you really want to learn and educate yourself, you should do what you are doing. You should start a podcast. I'm 145 episodes in on hosting the Truly Passive Income podcast, which is kind of a joke because there is no truly passive income. Everything's on a scale.
Yeah.
Something's the most passive. But even if that just means you have to spend the time to get to know me as an operator and make sure that I align with your goals. And then after that, you're good and we can invest together for 30 years. You still had to do a little bit of work up front. So to be fair, everything's on a scale. But through that process, what happens is I identify the smartest investors that I can across the country, people that would never have lunch with me if I asked them to, or would try
Mm.
to charge me $10,000. But
Yeah.
because I give them a platform to help them grow what they are trying to do, they not only come on, they let me grill them with questions for an hour and record it so I can go back and reference it in the future and share that episode with anybody else facing the same challenges that they've already navigated.
Mm.
It's really powerful in terms of remember the law of 100 hours? Well, I've got
Yep.
145 hours in so far with the best world renowned specialists that I could find. So that compounds significantly more than just passively listening to a podcast. I can actionably
Yeah.
go out there and find if I'm trying to learn about a Delaware statutory trust, I'm going to go find an expert on that and grill them.
Mm.
The same way, if I own a doctor's office or a dental practice, marketing is extremely important. And a podcast or anything like that, any kind of content that you can create, here's something really important. I record podcasts They're 40 minutes long. I talk too much, obviously, so sometimes longer. That gets turned into a transcript. The transcript, and I guest speak on a lot of other. I've been on a guest speaker on 55 other podcasts in the last year or so. So I can take all that information, all of
Yeah.
that get reduced down to transcript, which AI can do. All of that gets turned into blog posts. And
Mm,
all of that, the video gets turned into long form YouTube, gets snapped up and chatted into smaller clips, TikTok and stuff like that. And then obviously the audio turns into the podcast. But just this raw recording gives you so many different things that can be spread out. Those blog posts are constantly searched by AI right now. And right
hmm.
now, you've got a sneaky top 3 search engines that people are using. You've got the old tried and true people still using Google.
Yep.
You actually have YouTube is a massive search engine that people are using.
Oh yeah.
And then the one that's coming on the strongest is AI. Chat GPT. I prefer Gemini because the transcript, the context window is significantly larger, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That right there, AI, from having obscure blog posts out there, can very quickly put you in a position of being considered a subject matter expert.
Oh yeah.
If I'm a doctor, a dentist, an orthodontist, orthopedist, anything like that, any kind of content that you can create or put out there and you can automate a lot of it, all of that is working you up in the search engine algorithm. And some of it's going to be Google, some of it's going to be social media or YouTube, but AI is the biggest one. And if you can put that out there in blog form or different posts, and even if you're just natively hosting it on your own website, but that can look for it when it does a deep research search,
Yep.
you're bumping up your credibility. And that's really going to help you in your marketing
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think Clint, right there, you landed the plane. I
efforts.
definitely don't think you talk too much. You add so much value in everything that you're describing and helping us understand from an audience standpoint of
Thank
really
you.
how to meet your goals. Because we all have goals and we're all going in specific direction. And so I think really understanding that vision and, backpedaling from there and piecing it all together. Because I think at the end of the day, really everyone's trying to have more time to do whatever, right? And so, I think that's so powerful. If Thank you for all the insights today. If anyone wanted to contact you, Clint, for whatever, like how would they connect with you online?
Yeah, best way to do that is just go straight to our website. We're nomadcapital.us. You can
Okay.
connect with me there. You can schedule a call. I'm happy to talk to anybody about Airbnbs or house flipping or property management or raising capital or obviously self storage. But that's the best way. There's a lot of ways that you can, but besides that, I'm happy to connect and talk with anybody. Any way that I can provide value is fine. But the best place is nomadcapital.us.
Awesome. And we'll also include that information in the show notes. Clint with Nomad Capital, thank you again for this opportunity. I'm Lamar with the Healthcare Digital Marketing Podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.